To truly understand why the Dogtrot layout is a masterpiece of minimalist architecture, we must first change how we think about space itself. In Western design, we tend to define value by the presence of things, by the square footage of heated, dry-walled rooms. But true minimalism, particularly when you look at traditional Japanese or classic vernacular architecture, defines value by the absence of things. It is about the power of the void. And the Dogtrot house is, fundamentally, built around a magnificent, productive void. For those unfamiliar with the anatomy of a Dogtrot, the concept is beautifully basic. It consists of two separate, self-contained living pavilions, sitting side by side, connected by a wide, open-air central breezeway, and covered completely by a single, continuous, unified roofline. Historically, early 19th century settlers built them out of log timbers to handle the brutal, humid heat of the American South. One side was the hot, active kitchen, the other side was the quiet bedroom. The gap in the middle, the trot, was where the family lived, worked, and stayed cool. In a Dogtrot, the central breezeway acts as an unconditioned, open-air living room that costs absolutely nothing to heat or cool, uses zero drywall, and requires no internal structural framing. It is a space that doesn't count towards your official home size, yet it provides a massive multifunctional area for dining, relaxing, and gathering. The void becomes the most important room in the house. It allows you to live small while experiencing space grandly.
Let's dive deeper into the psychological reality of small footprint living. The primary reason people eventually abandon tiny homes or micropods is a phenomenon known as visual fatigue. When your eyes are constantly hitting a wall just a few feet away from your face, your brain instinctively registers a state of confinement. Your stress hormones spike, and the home ceases to feel like a sanctuary. The Dogtrot solves this problem entirely through visual expansion. Because the inner walls facing the breezeway are typically designed with massive glass doors or large windows, the sightlines of the home are pushed completely outward. When you are sitting inside the living cabin, your eyes don't stop at the edge of the room. They travel across the open timber deck, through the breezeway, and out to the horizon beyond. You can have a kitchen that is incredibly compact, designed with the strict efficiency of a luxury sailboat, but because it opens up directly onto the expansive central corridor, it never feels small. You get all the financial and environmental benefits of a sub-1,000 square foot home, but you get the emotional and psychological experience of living in an open, sprawling villa. It is a masterclass in architectural optics, proof that you don't need a massive amount of physical space to achieve a massive sense of freedom. One of the core tenets of minimalism is intentionality, the idea that every object and every action should have its own dedicated place. However, modern open-concept home designs do the exact opposite. They throw the kitchen, the living room, the home office, and the media center all in one giant reverberating space. The result is a constant chaotic overlap of sensory data. You are trying to read a book while someone else is washing dishes. You are trying to sleep while the smell of dinner lingers in the air. The Dogtrot structure introduces the ultimate minimalist luxury, absolute structural separation. By splitting the home into two distinct pavilions, you create a profound psychological boundary. One cabin becomes the active zone, housing the kitchen, the dining space, and the social living area. The other cabin across the breezeway becomes the quiet sanctuary, reserved exclusively for sleeping, bathing, and deep meditation. This physical separation changes how you experience your day. When you step out of the active cabin at night, cross the moonlit deck of the breezeway, and enter the bedroom cabin, your brain undergoes an instant shift. The smells of cooking, the visual clutter of dirty dishes, the noise of the television, they are physically left behind in an entirely different building. The bedroom remains pure, undisturbed, and entirely dedicated to rest. This level of acoustic and psychological privacy is virtually impossible to achieve in a standard small home, making the Dogtrot a far superior blueprint for mental well-being.
Minimalism isn't just an interior design aesthetic, it is a commitment to reducing our consumption of the Earth's resources. And a home cannot be truly minimalist if it requires a massive, complex network of mechanical equipment and an enormous amount of electricity just to remain livable. This is where the historical, field-tested engineering of the Dogtrot becomes incredibly relevant to our modern ecological challenges. As we verified in our previous explorations of this style, the central breezeway operates as a highly efficient, passive aerodynamic engine. By utilizing the Venturi effect, the corridor funnels ambient air, increasing its velocity and dropping its pressure. This creates a natural vacuum that continuously draws warm air out from the interiors of the two flanking cabins, provided their windows are cracked open to the trot. In a world facing increasingly erratic summer temperatures and rising grid costs, the Dogtrot offers a way to achieve thermal comfort through pure geometry rather than mechanical force. By orienting the breezeway to align with prevailing local summer winds, you can completely eliminate the need for air conditioning during all but the most extreme heat waves. Furthermore, because the roofline is continuous over the open corridor, both cabins are permanently protected from the harsh, direct midday sun, drastically reducing thermal gain. It is a design that achieves maximum comfort through minimal intervention, the very definition of sustainable minimalism.
Let's talk about the physical reality of building a house. The vast majority of modern home construction is incredibly wasteful. Complex roof designs, irregular floor plans, and custom corner framing create tons of scrap material that goes straight into landfills. For a minimalist, this hidden environmental cost is deeply troubling. The Dogtrot layout fights this waste through its inherent mathematical simplicity. Because a Dogtrot is composed of two basic rectangular boxes covered by a standard gabled roof, it represents the absolute peak of structural efficiency. Rectangles are the easiest shapes to frame, they require the fewest custom cuts, and they align perfectly with standard lumber dimensions. This means that when you build a Dogtrot, material waste is virtually non-existent. Furthermore, the foundations can be kept incredibly minimal. Instead of pouring a massive, expensive, carbon-heavy concrete slab across the entire footprint, a modern Dogtrot can be easily elevated on simple concrete piers or screw piles. This leaves the natural terrain beneath the house completely undisturbed, allows for easy access to plumbing and electrical systems, and drastically reduces upfront construction costs. The structure doesn't impose itself on the landscape. It treads lightly, using only what is absolutely necessary to create a secure, permanent shelter. The modern minimalist movement is deeply intertwined with the desire for lifestyle design and career freedom. More people than ever before are working remotely, running digital businesses, or engaging in creative consulting from home. But trying to maintain a minimalist mindset when your laptop is sitting on your kitchen counter or your Zoom background is blocking your view of your unmade bed is an uphill battle. It creates a state of perpetual mental clutter. The Dogtrot layout handles the remote work reality better than almost any other residential design in history. In a minimalist Dogtrot setup, you don't need a massive house with a dedicated office room built deep within a labyrinth of hallways. You simply designate one of the two cabins as your professional domain. One side of the trot is your domestic life, the other side is your professional life. This layout creates a beautifully literal micro-commute. When you wake up, you enjoy your morning routine in the living cabin. When it is time to work, you step outside into the fresh air, take a few steps across the covered deck, and enter your workspace. You are physically and mentally separating your labor from your rest. If clients or collaborators need to visit your office, they can walk straight into your workspace from the central breezeway without ever stepping foot inside your private kitchen or living areas. It protects the sanctity of your personal life while providing a highly professional, entirely undistracted environment for your work.
Let's talk about the ultimate goal of minimalism. It isn't just about having an aesthetically pleasing, uncluttered shelf. It is about achieving financial freedom. Minimalism is the tool we use to strip away unnecessary expenses so that we can reclaim our time, buy back our freedom, and live without the crushing weight of a massive 30-year mortgage. Yet, the traditional home buying process forces us into a state of immediate, long-term financial debt. The Dogtrot layout breaks this cycle through the brilliant concept of phased, modular construction. Because the home is structurally divided into two independent halves, you do not have to build the entire house at the same time. For a young designer, a solo remote worker, or a couple starting out, you can focus all your initial capital on building Cabin A. This first cabin contains your kitchen, a compact bathroom, and a flexible living/sleeping space. You build it debt-free or with a very minimal loan. At the same time, you build the continuous roof structure and the shared concrete foundation or pier system, leaving the space for Cabin B as an open, covered deck. For the first few years, you live comfortably and minimally in your single cabin, using the covered deck as a massive outdoor patio. Then, as your family grows, your business expands, or your savings pool increases, you simply frame in the second cabin beneath the existing roof. You never have to go through the chaotic nightmare of a traditional home extension because the architectural infrastructure is already there. The Dogtrot allows your home to grow organically at the exact same pace as your financial reality.